Hello, and welcome back to the Misty Morrison Podcast. I'm your host, the wonderful Misty Morrison, and this is episode 5 of What the Fluff. We'll get right on into the stories. Story number 1 is coming to us from r/Tales from Call Centers. Call center worker, EXP, W call center worker, role reversal. I don't know what part of that meant, but we're going to go for it anyway. So I work as a rep. I'm good. I'm picky when I call places. I know what good customer service is, and I don't take to it well when it's bad, especially since I'm super nice because I know their day was hell, lol. I have to call my phone carrier. I've messed up my plan. It's a major company, pink logo. My fault, and I know this each time I call. I don't take it out on them. I'm still trying to figure out how to fix things. Third rep I've talked to now was tonight. I explained what happened. I had to get a new line. Promotion for phone was supposed to be accepted if I waited 2 days, but this rep said it wasn't there. But she found a workaround. Props. Then I had her looking and giving me prices for about 10 different options of how I wanted to proceed with my plan and upgrades. She had to look up multiple lines, prices on each line, price down today. My questions were endless. She patiently and kindly answered them all. Then we tried to install an eSIM and things went south. Code said no available data. Her voice dropped. She felt so bad. She wanted to fix it so bad before I got off the phone. And I could tell. She tried but ended up having to send me to tech support. I know I can go to the store, so I asked if she had an identifier or name I can use when I get my survey or if I talk to a manager later. She said no, they didn't have those. I think she thought I wanted her to get commission. It was miscommunication. So I firmly asked for supervisor. Now, I'm with a very hesitant man, but you can tell a cheerful guy. He was bracing for an irate caller, he later told me. When he asked how he could help, I purposefully sounded ticked off and said I just wanted someone to know that the agent I just spent over an hour with, she was freaking amazing. He burst out laughing. He said he thought I was going to say something bad. I said, sorry, LOL, I work in this industry, and I am very critical when I call places, and this rep was extraordinary. They close in 30 minutes. It's her end of shift, she's tired, and I kept this woman answering so many questions, and I kept jumping issues before she finished one. She was so kind, so humble. Here is the good part. He said she was one of the best reps, and then he said he wanted to confess she's actually up for a promotion, and he would make sure this compliment call ended up with her application, and he said this is actually going to be her ace. And I just wanted to tell someone, especially in case she sees a sub. Way to go, you deserve it. Also, even for us call takers, don't forget to do surveys or kudos calls. I know sometimes even we forget, but compliments from us can do more than the average person, as long as they know you're in the industry. I'm so excited for her. I hope this really helped her and she excels in her new position. I'm so glad we started with like a happy story today. I feel like most of what we get, we're here for the drama, so most of what we read is not happy, but I'm really glad we started with the happy one. That's cool. Story number 2, also from r/Tales from Call Centers. I lost my meds. I used to be a supervisor in a call center for pharmacy processing. If you haven't heard of what goes on when a pharmacist runs your insurance at your local store, I highly recommend you take the time to learn about your plans and how they work. One of the biggest things is lost medication coverage and what a customer has to do to get coverage, if any, to allow for the insurance to provide a discount. A lot of the time, they will call a processor to oversee the override that allows payment, but we would first have to see if the drug is permitted under the plan to be excused for an early fill. It was a bit of a laugh to get customers who had lost their erectile dysfunction pills. From time to time, the wife would be in the background. It was my job to see that I could get my stranded soldiers to high ground. I'm sure I have saved some marriages. Other times, it was more controlled substances. These types of therapies have no coverage under most insurance policies if lost or stolen. While we gave no attention to a customer's use of the medication, there were sometimes red flags that one personally could see from someone's behavior. I had to put a message out one night about someone trying to request early refill for stimulants. All calls were to be forwarded to me because earlier the customer had called to my floor and was escalated to me. Since the state where they resided would not early refill such a medication, it should have been crystal clear that we would have no say in the refill. The customer would call a few more times to try to get some leeway, but would be met with me. There were some very wholesome interactions where we were the front line in getting coverage for life-saving medications to a customer who did not understand how their coverage worked and were met with a high price after the claim was denied. One time I spent 3 hours after the end of shift to ensure a patient could get a one-time fill of a drug that kept their child alive. That evening, they had been met with bad news by a couple of reps who didn't know how to make sense of their coverage. A lot of insurance groups can allow for a one-time coverage at a discounted rate for customers who have either changed plans or have had a new medication. The hard part about processing these claims is that it can be a troublesome task of finding the right channels to fix the issue. I set them up with the next steps to get their coverage for this medication, and they got processed at the end of the night. I would definitely do this line of work again, but it would have to be for better pay and for a better title. I know it is easy for people to get in a loop when it comes to call center work, but I hope that anyone in this profession can see how justified their work is and how much easier they are making people's lives. Thank you for reading a chapter in my life, and I wish you all the best in life and business. So I don't think I've read a single story from Tales from Call Centers before. And I'm so glad I did, because these are, so far, we're on story 2, but so far we've had feel-good stories, and I like it. Story number 3 is coming to us from r/Tales from Call Centers. You don't get paid enough to deal with me. So I said in the last post I made here, I worked tech support for a specific fruity brand of phones for a specific cell phone carrier back in the day. And I learned a lot about being on the other side of the phone, what people can and can't do, all that good jazz. But I had a customer tell me something once that I still use to this day when I have to call any customer service line. So the call comes in, and I already knew what it was about as soon as the information pulled up on the computer. This particular carrier was switching all their cell towers over to 4G towers. By tearing out all the towers in an area and rebuilding them over a process of 2 to 4 months. Obviously, while the towers were down, nobody had service. I don't know why they did it this way, but when people called in to complain, we were told to offer them a $50 reduction on their bill that month. Obviously, many people were unhappy about this because, well, I'm still paying for a product that doesn't work. Giving me money off doesn't actually change that my phone doesn't work. But I see the address and I know what it is already. So I put on my extra perky, we love the customer's voice, and answer. Thank you for calling company. This is Morgan 1129. How can I help you today? The voice I responded back was, to my surprise, relatively pleasant. A deep southern drawl to be sure, but he sounded fairly laid back, until I actually listened to what he was saying. Hey, darlings, so here's the thing. I'm about ready to lose my goddamn mind here. I've talked to 3 different people about getting my contract canceled since my goddamn phone don't work. But I get it. It ain't your fault, and you ain't done nothing wrong. And you sound real nice. So how about we skip me yelling at you, and me feeling guilty for making a young woman cry, and you having a bad day because of my bad day, and you just go on and get me your manager. You don't get paid enough to deal with me when I'm in a mood like this. Stunned for a second. What? You're not going to yell at me for something I can't do and have zero control over? What even is this? But I'm not going to complain. I will absolutely do that for you, sir. If you give me 2 minutes at most, I'll get a manager right over here to help you out. I say, still pleasant, but probably sounding confused, because my head is still trying to wrap around the fact that he's not yelling at me. Alright then, you go on and do that. But don't put me on hold. I ain't going on hold again. You just set the phone down on your desk, and I'll keep good and quiet until your manager gets here. They said southern drawl. I had to do it. Forgive that horrible accent. But I'm having fun. Well, I stick up my little red solo cup on a stick. We were a real class act. That we had to notify managers we needed them. It took about a minute and a half, but my manager came over. I explained the situation, and the manager sat down. Y'all, I could hear the second the man started yelling. I couldn't quite make out what was being said, but it was enough that I could hear him through the headset. I don't know what ended up happening or how it all played out, as I took my 15 for a smoke, but I've never forgotten that. And when I had to call my cable company for the 9th time trying to get my internet fixed, I'd went and got a new router twice, a new modem twice, and it still didn't fix the problem. I ended up using that same line. I know it's not your fault, you haven't done anything wrong, but I'm mad as hell, so why don't you just get me a manager so I can yell at him instead of you? I like it. I like it a lot. I mean, yeah, because truly, people in call center work do not get paid enough to deal with assholes. They do not get paid enough to deal with angry people. So, yeah. And I mean, I've been there. I've been that person. I think one day I was trying to activate iPads that had cell phone service. So they're supposed to be set up when I got them. They were not. So I had to call the carrier to get eSIMs activated on 5 iPads. This was for work, by the way. I don't have 5 iPads. So I called, super helpful customer service rep, got me through 3 of them successfully. And for whatever reason, like we followed the same process, 2 of them, the eSIM would not activate. So we tried a few different things, did a few resets, like shut it off, turn it back on again, wait a while, all that good stuff. And it still wouldn't work. So it's like, sometimes it takes 24 hours to reset. If it doesn't reset, call back tomorrow. Okay. At this point, we still had 2 that were not fully functional, did not have cell phone service. And of course, it was 4 o'clock when I got off of this 3-hour phone call. So that meant I was going to have to call like at the very end of my day the next day, which is fine. So shut them off, come back the next day, work the whole day, 4 o'clock, turn it back on. As expected, it's not working. So I call back day 2, and I think maybe 30 minutes on the phone with a customer service rep, and they had 1 of them fixed. So now we're up to 4 of 5 iPads working. The last one was just being a pain. Like, it was just being so weird of some things that looked like they were working right and then some things that were missing. So, they tried to help me through every single thing. It was a lot of what I did the first day and then some new things. And so finally, and I was so grateful for this customer service rep because he said, none of this works. Leave it 24 hours for a reset. If you have to call back tomorrow, ask for tech support. Because I'm just a customer service rep. Everyone you're going to get when you first call in is a customer service rep. And they're all going to do the same things I did and the same things the guy yesterday did. Just tell them, you've been working on this for days. You've already tried everything with customer service. You need tech support. I said, okay, thank you. I will do that. So next day rolls around, of course, 4 o'clock. iPad number 5 is still being weird. It's still not fully functional. No service. So I call for the 3rd day, the carrier, and I get a person on the phone who's really nice. Like, everyone I talked to was so nice, and they wanted to help me. So I get this guy, and I was like, this is what's been going on. This is what I've done the past 3 days. I still have 1 left. I need tech support. And he said, he's like, I'd be happy to help you. There's a few things that we can try before you have to go tech support. And I said, honestly, I appreciate your help, but I've already done this with 4 iPads. I've done this for 2 days. We have done everything that I know that you can do. Please just get me through to tech support. Like, I have been transferred. I have been disconnected. I've had to call back. Please just send me straight to tech support. And he said, okay, I understand. Hang on for 1 minute. And he even read me out the number to get directly to tech support in case I got disconnected during the transfer. Thankfully, the transfer went through, and it was a warm transfer, not a cold handoff. So he did explain to the tech support person who came on the line what all was going on. Super, super helpful. Like, I have all great things to say about this carrier. And I was probably on the phone for like 15 minutes with tech support. Like, they knew pretty much right away what we needed to do. It was just a matter of time going through all the steps. So, great experience. Just be nice to people when they're nice to you. And understand that there's normally always a higher level of assistance that you can get to if you're just kind enough yourself to ask for what you need and get there. Because, yeah, it's not their fault. All right. Story number 4 is coming to us from r/Tales from Call Centers. The customer wants the company to change for him. I work for an electricity company. A foreign customer who's currently in my country wanted to pay with his international debit card, which my company doesn't accept. We only accept local currency and local mobile banking. At first, I suggested him to pay with credit card, but he said his card didn't work. So I suggested him to withdraw cash in the local currency and make a payment at the office. He said he would pay with his international debit card and would want to talk to another agent because I made no sense. I transferred his call to another guy who said the same thing I did because that's how our company accepts payments. The customer got frustrated and demanded to talk to our supervisor, saying we need to fix the problem so he can pay. He gave us his number and told us to call him back when we finally figured out how he would be able to pay with his card. I saw one the other day. It said, I can only explain it to you. I cannot understand it for you. And that's what this brings to mind. Like, a company's not going to change for you. They already told you we can't do that. And this is why we can't do that. It's a policy. It's amazing the number of times you have to explain to someone, I can't do it because of X policy. And they act like policies are just like frivolous, willy-nilly, like not a set in stone thing. And yes, they can be changed, but there's a process and they're not going to go through that lengthy, tedious process for one person who wants to be difficult. It's just not going to happen. Oops. Story number 6, also coming to us from r/Tales from Call Centers. Why can't people have all the information needed all at once? Working for a company that works in multiple states, there's bound to be a few things that can have a bit of overlap in information. That or people are idiots and force you to ask more questions than are necessary. Just as an example of what bothers me when taking calls. Customer, I've called to change my mailing address. Oh great, I can help with that. What's the new address? Customer, 555 Tristan. Customer, silence. Is this Tristan Avenue, Street, Boulevard, Drive? Customer, hold on. It's Drive, I think. Thank you. And what's the city and state it's in? Customer, it's Boston, Maine. Searches for the address. I'm noticing that this address is an apartment complex. Is there a certain apartment we are to add to your mailing address? Customer, 45. Cue internally screaming and loss of hair from stress dealing with this multiple times a day. Alternatively, people who say things all at once as fast as possible create about the same amount of stress. As an example of how it feels, bear with me, this is written all in caps, no spaces. I'm going to try to read it like it's written. Customer. Yeah, I want to update information on my account, change my mailing address to 555 Tristan Avenue, apartment, blah, 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 Boston, Maine, 12345 zip code. Yep. Can you back up a moment? I'm trying to recover from that information overload. Yeah. I mean, I've called customer service enough times at this point. I already know what they're going to ask for. And I know if I'm annoyed that I'm on the phone, that I'm having to make the call, I will definitely go through it faster. If I've already given the same information to someone, I'm getting transferred and they're asking me for all the same information again, I'm going to say it faster because I'm annoyed. I feel like you should already have that information. I want to get through it. But I'm not mean because I still understand for verification purposes. You have to hear it directly from me. I get it. But, yeah. You know what they're going to ask for. You know if you live in an apartment building that you have an apartment number or a unit number. Just be sensible. Give them what they need. They shouldn't have to pull your teeth to get you what you want. Story number 6 is coming to us from r/Tales from Call Centers. First time being rude to caller. Am I getting fired? Been at my current call center for 4 years. I'm a pretty good employee. I have a spotless attendance record, no late logins, and no long lunches or breaks, and I get excellent performance reviews. However, I have a couple bad habits. I tend to get frustrated when I have a caller asking me the same questions over and over again. I also have a very stilted and stiff-sounding speech. I get called a robot a lot, and I hate it. Sometimes I'll mute myself just so I can say something rude or sigh when a caller starts getting to me. Well, today I forgot to mute myself first. Had a caller ask me politely to repeat myself. I proceeded to let out a sigh and loudly say, "Come on, really?" The caller did not deserve that. They were actually very nice. I profusely apologized to the caller. They chewed me the F out and asked to speak with my supervisor. I begged for forgiveness, and the caller took pity on me. The caller told me I needed to get help, they're right, and ended the call. This is my first time having anything like this happen. I'm terrified about what may happen. I'm pretty much paycheck to paycheck, and I can't afford to lose my job. If I do, it will be on me for not getting my mental health together a long time ago, but I don't want to lose what little bit I have right now. Do you guys think I'm done? So this one was like basically asking that question from other people in call centers. And he got the advice he needed, so I'm not going to touch on that. Yeah, I mean, I've had headsets when I did work, like call center type work, and the mute button did not always work. Thankfully, I didn't have to deal with a lot of actual customers. I mostly dealt with other companies. So you just got more people in the same line of work, and no one was ever really mad about anything unless you got a customer. But it really surprises me that you said this person was actually really polite and really nice, and then like you had one slip and they chewed you out like that. I'm glad it does seem like they forgave you. They gave you the grace over it being mental health. But yeah, that was a really interesting 180 there. Honestly, what you like sighing and saying, "Come on, really?" It's not that bad. I mean, in the context, they just ask you to repeat yourself. It's not good, but it's not like you call them stupid or cuss them out or something. So I think everyone sucks here. I mean, I don't know if you're getting fired or not. I really don't think you were rude to the customer. You were rude in general, but you didn't mean to say something to the customer. With 4 years working at that center and a spotless record, I would hope that you would be given grace for like a first-time instance. But I've also worked at companies and seen when people have a record like yours, have worked there for a while, and are not given grace for a first incidence. So I really don't know how that will work out for you. But also, don't beat yourself up about not having gotten your mental health in check. When you said you live paycheck to paycheck, how are you supposed to afford to get your mental health in check when they don't really pay you enough for that? It's hard. It's hard to balance. I hope you do go ahead and prioritize that now. Maybe make some other cuts elsewhere so that you can afford to take care of your mental health before it really starts affecting your life. Story number 7. Let's see. Actually, the next story that I have is... Oh, it's not that long. Okay. Story number 7 is coming to us from r/Tales from Call Centers. The audible sound of castration. I had to pick this one for the title. Okay, long one. TLDR, Mr. No Math customer gets balls clipped by troll after treating me like shit. One night, while working on a call center for a satellite TV provider, I learned what castration sounded like over the phone. The caller, an older guy, Mr. No Math, upset about his bill, and in this case, a prorated charge for a premium service which was just added. I want to preface this that my normal professional demeanor never broke the entire call. I was a college student at this time and gifted in math, could immediately see it was close and quickly confirmed on a calculator. He got more and more irate with me as he didn't seem to grasp algebra. When that failed, his story changed that he had never been informed it would be prorated and the charge shouldn't be there. I advised all CSRs are all trained and reminded regularly on policies like this, and he hit the roof. I'll save you the explicative-laden scream fest, and sure, I was within policy to advise him abuse of CSRs is not tolerated and click. I have thick skin, and this jerk isn't going to win by calling back and crying that he got hung up on. While waiting for him to run out of insults to my person and intelligence, I pulled up the call on his account, and the heavens poured forth mana and every bit of ammo needed to save this call. He finally took a breath, and I jumped in to advise him not only was I the CSR which handled the request, but it is my practice to type notes as I explain details of packages, and that they are prorated, just as he saw on this bill. He took it as an insult, and now he's screaming about how I was calling him a liar. This led to me stating, no, just a small detail which was forgotten. Well, that was not what he wanted to hear, and immediately demanded to have his service cut off. Not missing a beat, I went into the we're here to help mode, confirmed that he was requesting his service be terminated, and after advising his final bill would be prorated, and someone from field service would be in contact to retrieve the equipment, I completed his request and began to shift into the end of this call. And that's the moment Christmas came early. It seems Mr. No Math was both ignorant to new technology and married to an actual bridge troll. As her tromping loudened, hearkening her approach, her battle cry rang out, "What the F?" Now, I didn't hear any DV going on, but what was heard is a complete dismantling of Mr. No Math. Once she learned what had happened, and it was at this man's request, no verbal weapons were spared. Like music to my ears rang insults like the likes of which actually had me feeling sorry for this guy. After all, this call ends in minutes for me, but he's got to live with her. Having exhausted herself, she left him with a barked order to turn it the F back on and tromped back off to her lair. A very meek Mr. No Math returned to speak with me, and his rage never was seen again, as I covered reconnection fees and the like. Once I confirmed service was restored, the call ended. As I listened to the call with my lead, I was making sure I had covered all my bases, thinking I may have missed something. Once it ended, he simply said, "Huh, so that's what castration sounds like." That was good. I mean, I know you went through a lot, but to be on the same call and to hear him get what he gave from someone who could get away with it, pretty rewarding. Especially when he asked for, when they ask for the disconnection and you're just like, all right, you're the customer, you're right, I'll give you what you want. And then they realize how badly they messed up. And plus the company got so much more money for it because then they had to pay the reconnection fees. It turned out well. I'm sure it was hard to deal with because I don't tolerate that language. I don't tolerate abuse of the employees. So I definitely would have been the one to say, per company policy, CSR abuse is not tolerated. I will be terminating this call now. Thank you and have a good day. Actually, no. Thank you and have the day you deserve. Yep. Because he did not have a good day. But yeah, props to you for tolerating it, for getting through, and making his day even worse in the process. Great job. All right, that is us done for the day. We had 7 stories, all from r/tales from call centers. I hope you enjoyed our content for the day. If you are listening on podcast, leave a 5-star review to help the channel grow and share the episode with a friend if you liked it. If you are watching on YouTube, comment down below what you thought about these stories, which was your favorite. Like the video, share it with a friend, and subscribe for more. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next time. Bye.